Welcome back to my channel. I'm Steph and this is Knots and Needles, where I sew and craft various items. So today I'm wanting to make the bodysuit again, the Elysian Bodysuit by the Friday Pattern Company. Now this has been in my wardrobe for a few months now and it's something I sort of reach to quite regularly and I really like it. But I do want to make some changes. So it's got a full bottom on the back, but I kind of want it to be a thong because I personally find that a wee bit more comfortable. I know that they've already put out the hack on how to do the snaps, so I will be putting snaps in as well, just because it makes going to the toilet a wee bit easier. And then I don't have a bra at the moment, but as you can see, it does this, and I'm forever going like hunching and just I need the shoulders to be at least an inch wider, because I don't feel like I have enough coverage and I feel like it's just gonna fall off like every couple of minutes, and it's annoying. I want the thong to be back because it's not as comfy as a thong. It's my preferred method. The torso, I do need to add an inch or two on the torso because it does feel a wee bit tight. Like the underband here doesn't quite fit as snugly as I want, and I think if I had a bit of extra space, this would fit. The bust area would fit a wee bit better. I will not make the long sleeve version again, as much as I do find it really warm. I feel like if I have the sleeves kind of where I want them, like halfway down my hand, it's pulling the shoulders down, and I'm forever kind of pulling up the sleeves to try and get the shoulders right. Sounds like I really hate this pattern, but I do generally wear this all the time because it just makes me look like an autumn leaf, but I like the fit and silhouette. So I'm going to take you along and see if we can make a usable block, basically, that I can then sew quite regularly. I've got some black jersey fabric and I'm just going to go for it, really. I ain't going to look at anything. I might go look at one of my thongs and see if that can help me, but I'm going in completely blind in the hope that it works out and hope that helps anyone else who's bought a bodysuit pattern and wants to modify themselves to sort of fit them a wee bit more. So yeah, wish me luck. So I'm starting with piece number B, which is the lower front, and the changes I want to make on this is I want the cut on the hip to be 1 inch higher, so I'm going to go up by an inch and mark, and then I want the crotch to be one inch slimmer, so I'm going to take an inch off this because this is on the fold, so it's folded in half. First off, because this is folded, I've gone ahead and ironed this. I'm going to keep this as my sort of my base, and I'm going to trace out this pattern and then make my changes to the brown piece. So this is what I'm doing on this piece, is up 1 inch, in 1 inch. I have my pattern piece traced out. What I have done is at this piece here, so on this corner, that's the leg, I've marked 1 inch up, and then I've transferred, this is basically the seam allowance, so that notch there is the seam allowance. So I transferred this up. Now all I'm going to do is to make my life a bit easier. So I've lined up that seam allowance. And I said I wanted the crotch to be a little bit longer. So now I've got an extra nearly 3/4 of an inch on the bottom just by positioning the original pattern piece. I'm going to trace this all the way around and then hope it works. Okay, so that's traced round, so that's my new leg line, my inner thigh, I don't know what you call it. So it's basically just reducing the size of this. Now I want to go ahead and reduce the size of the knicker piece. I don't know what you'd call it. Now I have the new hip line. What I'm doing now is I'm reducing the actual crotch width to 1/2 inch. What I'm showing here is 1 inch, but I am going to reduce it to 1/2 inch once it's cut out, just to make sure that there's not too much fabric. So here I've remarked the new width, which is 1/2 inch. Once I cut out 1 inch, I realised that it was way too thick because this is actually cut on the fold, so I end up with too much fabric, because also you've got to take into account the binding. So I've just drawn on a new curve and matched it up with my new hip line. This pattern piece is the top, and I am adding 1 inch to each shoulder seam. I am only doing it to one side because my new pattern piece I'm going to cut out on the fold, so I don't need to trace the whole thing, and it takes me a little while to get the curve right here because I still want it coming down to the same spot in the middle. So to compare and contrast, here is the original, here is the new neckline and the new fabric added on. So now I've got to make sure that the back piece is the same width as this piece. The back piece is what is going to have the most sort of changes to it, because we've got to change the back piece into a thong, and I want it just as highly cut as well, and the shoulder seam, I then have to make an inch wider as well. So I think to start off, we're going to do the shoulder seam. And to do that, I'm just going to do the same as what I did before, is add an inch on and then create a new neckline. So here's an inch. And I think I do want the back scoop to come down just as low. Okay, so that's that done. So I'll come out here and then come down so it still hits the same part on the pattern. Now I'm going to copy this line as it is because that is the centre back. I don't think I've ever spent this much time on a pattern before. It shows you how much I love wearing this bodysuit, for me to put this much effort in to making it perfect. And the fact that I don't want to keep buying a million patterns until I find a right one, because it kind of does add up. So my search of like the perfect jumpsuit dungarees, I've like spent quite a bit of money now. This is why I'm going to spend the time making the Erin dungarees absolutely like perfect, because I do love my red ones. They're just they're a wee bit much. Let's say that. I look a bit festive while you're around. So I'm just going to transfer. So that's the fold, and we're cutting 1. So this is direction of greatest stretch. So direction of greatest stretch, dogs. Yeah. I'll need to transfer that on some of the patterns as well. So again for this, I'm going to come 1 inch up. And then the thong at the bottom, I'm going to come down to 1/2 inch. I'll come 1/2 inch on this side actually. So yeah, so I'm going to come down 1/2 inch and then trace up this curve here. So how far do I want it to go up 1/2 inch for? So we'll make sure that this is tracked up nicely. And I want at least 4. Let's go 8. At least 8 fingers up. So this is a big change I'm making to this pattern, right? I know it's hard to see on this paper. Here is my 1 inch line. So I think we'll go for 1 inch and then we'll slowly grade it out to, I think, out here. I'm going to make these really cheeky, hopefully really comfy. So halfway between that, you want 1.5. So sort of out here somewhere. And we're going to bring it back round to here. So we are cutting, you can see we're cutting a hell of a lot out. So let's start here, shall we, which is about 2 inches. I'm just going to make little marks up so I still get sort of the right shape, and then slowly go in. Here. A little bit of a wibble wobbly line. So I think that's my new butt leg line. Let's cut it out and see. This is the back piece, and I've just laid it on top of the front piece, and the difference is what is on this ruler, which is 1, 2, 3, 3/8 of an inch, right? And then this is just under 3/8 of an inch. So I'm just gonna bring this in a bit. Just slightly, just so this top bit does meet up with the front, so then the binding does fit in nicely and it'll be all hidden. That's better. So that is the leg line. As you can see, it's way cheekier and nice and thin. And comes up higher on my hip as well. The new back, the curve around the back as well. I'm not going to, I will cut extra binding for the legs on the back. I will measure how long the piece is now, and then I will lengthen it or shorten it as required. This is the sleeve, and I'm going with the short sleeve version. So as you can see, this is just under 1 inch shorter. So I have this handy fold line where the pieces were put together, stuck together. So I'm just folding it along this line. So that'll be my new sleeve. I may as well trace this out, but F, narrow sleeve binding. I'm going to make this longer, and again, I'm going to make it 1 inch shorter than this edge here. So this measures just under 11.5 inches. So I'll make this just under 10.5 inches. Welcome back. So I have now sewn my bodysuit together. It is finished, and I have some thoughts. My first thought is that this quality jersey isn't as good as the leaf print Elysian jersey. It feels a bit thinner and definitely a wee bit more or less elastic. Things I did differently, just to begin with, in part of the sewing process, is I top stitched all the way around here with twin needle, just in black thread, and I feel like it's given it a bit more of a polished finish, because on the other one it sort of get a wee bit bunchy. I probably will go back and top stitch it if I can find an appropriate colour thread. So starting with the top modifications, I absolutely love the wider shoulder. It feels so much more secure. I don't feel like my bra straps are gonna show, and it just makes it feel a bit more comfortable, like less exposed, I suppose. I don't usually mind, but it just feels like it's not going to fall off my shoulders. I love the shorter sleeves. I think it's got a nice, it's not super tight like the other one. I think I may have made it because I've made it a wee bit bigger. And I just like I actually really like the cut and the length. I just feel it looks, it's more comfortable, right? I feel more comfortable. This is the back. So again, I really like it. I feel like it's just a bit more coverage. Okay, so we'll move on to the bottom. So I didn't want to get demonetized. Well, I'm not monetized, but I didn't want to get in trouble from YouTube by flashing my arse, right? So things I didn't take into consideration when narrowing this was the fact that it's got ribbing. So I have red ribbing because I ran out of black fabric. So this is 1 meter of black jersey and I only have sort of scraps left. So this adds on like about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. This side's thinner because I accidentally sewed it on the wrong way around, so then I had to undo it and then reserge it, which is annoying. I have tried it on without the sucky in pants and it's a lot more comfortable, honestly. So this is the back. Let's get to the good bit. I could still wish I kind of brought it in quite a bit narrower, like sort of quite a bit more cheeky, because you're not going to see this. I've got pants on, I've got trousers on, so you're not going to see it, and just narrower. But I think working with it would be quite difficult because you then working with like a strip of fabric that's say 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch. So I don't know how I would get around that. I do think the black and the red do look quite nice together. So I also top stitched this bit here because it said in the instructions as an optional. I wouldn't do that again. So I wouldn't top stitch this again because it's stretched it out a wee bit too much and it's a bit annoying. You can't tell on this because it's obviously so dark, but there is like a stretch to it, and because this jersey doesn't feel as stretchy as my other one, I don't feel like it's got the forgiveness, and it's too late now. Once I couldn't pick it, but I think the damage is already done because I tried doing that with one of the pockets on the Soroku bodysuit, and it's now like loose, and I think I'd have to go through and understitch it. So my next one, I won't do this, but I will continue to do the top stitching here because I think it does make a huge difference. So I think for something that I didn't have any experience in, I went in with what I feel is quite little knowledge of pattern drafting and editing. I now have 2 patterns that fit my needs. So on the original one, I probably will make the bum a bit bigger so it covers a bit more of my bum, so it's not having the urge to be eaten by my bum. How many times can I say bum in one video? And this one I will probably just take in a wee bit more, not a huge amount, just a little bit, just to make it a wee bit narrower, but only for maybe the crotch area. Take that down to 3/4 inch, and maybe for the binding, the binding on the hips, I will serge that in a lot closer so it's not showing. So at the moment it's about, say, 1/2 inch. So take that in, say, so only a little bit shows, or even fold it under and then top stitch, just so you don't have a raw edge. Or I might just serge this, the black piece, without any binding, and tuck it under and top stitch all the way around. Yeah, just to wrap it up, I'm really happy and I'm quite pleased with how I did. Actually, I didn't think it would work out this well. I thought it'd be an absolute disaster, but I now have another piece in my wardrobe that is sort of a staple that can go underneath my other clothes, and it's black. It goes with everything, right? Yeah, I'm happy, and I think that's a fantastic start to the year. So that is 1 item of 1 meter fabric that has been used. So I only now have to use another piece of fabric from stash, and then I get to buy more fabric. That is the rules.